Chosen one. Your name lit the match, and before you could speak, the fire had already spread. No one was talking about you until the whispers turned into wildfires, until the lies caught wind, until the flames danced from tongue to tongue, and suddenly, you became the headline. They didn't need proof. They didn't need truth. They only needed a name, your name, to set the whole village ablaze. They whispered in shadows. You were dragged into the spotlight. They sowed poison in secret. You were judged in public. You weren't just talked about. You were tried. In the court of gossip, in the silence of group chats, in the smirks of people who never had the courage to look you in the eye. But hear me now, chosen one. The heavens watch that fire. Every spark, every whisper, every twisted word spoken behind closed doors. Spiritual surveillance has been running from the beginning. The courtrooms of the cosmos don't need a jury. They only need truth. And truth, my dear one, always has a voice. Eventually, while they were throwing your name like stones into the street, you stayed silent. You kept walking. You kept building. You kept healing. And that's when the light began to shift. That's when heaven began to rise on your behalf. You see, there's something about divine justice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself. It waits. And then, like thunder that's been storing power for too long, it strikes, loud, unmistakable, unapologetic. Chosen one, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you were burned alive by words you never said? Have you ever watched your reputation spiral while your heart still tried to forgive? Have you ever been on the altar of their entertainment while heaven quietly built your escape? Because what they didn't know was that you were never alone. What they didn't factor in was that your name was written, not in rumors, but in records. Records held by divine hands. And now, those records are being read aloud. Heaven's courtroom has opened the scroll. You were never weak. You were chosen, anointed, guarded. Their lies were loud, but your silence was sacred. They accused, but you ascended. They gossiped, but the universe recorded. While they traded stories, you were collecting evidence. While they laughed, you were rising. And now the tables, they've turned. Because here's the part no one expected. The very ones who set the fire are now choking on the smoke. Their alliances crumbling, their influence fading, their peace gone. And the people, they're starting to see. They're starting to ask. They're starting to wonder. What if the one we judged was the one we should have protected? This is only the beginning. The fire they started with your name, it purified you. It burned off every false attachment, every fake connection, every mask. And what remains is the real you, the radiant you, the resurrected you. So don't you dare lower your voice. Don't you shrink for their comfort. Don't you apologize for having survived the furnace. Chosen one, this was never your end. It was your activation. Let them talk. Let them squirm. Let the truth set fire to every illusion they built. You walk forward with oil on your head and fire in your bones. Heaven already ruled in your favor. Now, comment below if you felt this burning too. Say, I survived the fire, if this message speaks to your spirit. And if you're ready to keep rising, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that divine justice never forgets a name. Chosen one, do you feel it? That sacred stirring deep in your chest, like thunder rolling through the temple halls of your soul? That's not just memory. That's not imagination. That is the voice of truth, finally rising. They thought they got away with it. They thought silence meant safety, that if they whispered low enough, hid deep enough, masked their intent long enough, heaven wouldn't notice. But chosen one, nothing spoken in darkness escapes the eyes of the Spirit. Nothing planned in secret avoids the ears of the throne. Because heaven has surveillance, spiritual cameras, divine recorders, installed not in corners, but in hearts, and every plot was recorded, every lie time-stamped, every betrayal archived by the angels themselves. You weren't crazy, you weren't paranoid. The spiritual realm was watching, documenting, cataloging the fingerprints of every false accusation. The truth was never lost. It was simply waiting for the appointed time to roar like a lion. Chosen one, the temple is echoing now. The secrets they buried now crash like cymbals on holy ground. The things they said behind closed doors now thunder across rooftops, and the lies they thought were buried deep now bloom under the radiant gaze of heaven's light. Because the light of God is a recording device no man can hack, no witchcraft can distort it, no manipulation can delete it. It captures not only words but motives, not only actions but intentions. And now, the playback has begun. You've been sensing it, haven't you? That holy ringing in your ears, that sudden insight, that knowing that pierces deeper than logic. That's the footage replaying inside your spirit. You're not just hearing echoes of what happened, you're hearing the verdict. The gavel has fallen, not in a courtroom of man, but in the sanctuary of the heavens. Chosen one, let me ask you this. Have you heard the voice of truth rising inside your own soul? Not the voice of revenge, not the voice of pride, but the voice that says, you were right to walk away. You were right to stay silent. You were right to trust the Spirit. The evidence is no longer hidden. The angels have delivered the files. The scrolls have been opened, and heaven is speaking through signs, through synchronicities, through sudden exposures. This is not coincidence, it's recompense. You don't need to prove anything, because the divine audio is on loop. Every whisper they launched against you is now being broadcast back to them. Louder, clearer, unfiltered. And while they scramble to silence the noise, you, chosen one, can stand tall in stillness. Your truth doesn't shout, it resonates. So if you've been hearing the rumble, if your spirit's been vibrating with clarity, if heaven had been confirming your pain wasn't pointless, comment below. The voice of truth is rising in me. And don't you forget, you're not crazy, you're not dramatic, you're divinely recorded, and now divinely revealed. Chosen one. This is not just a season, this is a sentencing. They thought they were clever. They thought their whispers would vanish into shadows, that their lies, like smoke, would disappear before the sun rose. But what they didn't realize is that every word they sowed was a seed in heaven's courtroom. And with each false accusation, with each backroom scheme, with each manipulated conversation, they weren't just attacking you, they were drafting their own judgment. Chosen one, listen carefully. You didn't have to fight, you didn't have to curse back, you didn't even have to respond, because heaven was watching, weighing, measuring, and now the scales have tipped. Their health, failing, their peace of mind, scattered like ashes in the wind, their finances, draining like a bucket with holes only the spirit world can see, their connections, fractured, their confidence, crushed, their sleep, interrupted by the echoes of what they did to you. These are not coincidences. These are consequences, because no one escapes the scales of justice. When those scales are held by the hand of heaven, they thought they could plant poison and walk away clean. But the earth itself is testifying. The winds have changed direction, and every secret they tried to bury is now rising as evidence against them. Not in your courtroom, but in the holy court above all courts, where no lawyer can twist, where no bribe can buy silence, where no performance can fool the judge of spirits. Chosen one, can you feel it? That inner confirmation? That holy stillness? That's what it feels like, to witness a verdict fall without lifting a finger. And here's the real test. Do you have the courage to not seek revenge? Do you trust the judge enough to watch divine justice unfold without stepping in to rewrite the sentence? Remember this, heaven never forgets, heaven never overlooks, and heaven always vindicates those who stay aligned, not vengeful. Say this with me in your spirit. I don't need to avenge myself. The scales of heaven are already moving. Comment below, I trust divine justice to speak louder than my pain. Because when you stay silent in faith, the universe moves in fire, and what looked like your defeat becomes their divine reckoning. The betrayer's downfall isn't your victory, it's heaven's evidence. And right now, that evidence is speaking louder than any words ever could. Chosen one. They didn't hate you because you were wrong. They hated you because you were real, because your presence illuminated what they were trying to keep hidden. Your light? It wasn't just warm, it was revealing, and not everyone wants to be seen. You walked into the room, and the atmosphere shifted. Why? Because your authenticity confronted their illusion, because your peace exposed their inner chaos, because your growth made their stagnation too obvious to ignore. Your light became a mirror. And when people are hiding from themselves, even love can feel like an attack. Even silence feels like judgment. Even kindness sounds like condemnation. They called it concern, but listen deeper. Underneath the advice, the soft tone, the raised eyebrows, was something far more venomous, jealousy. They said, I just don't want you to get your hopes up. I think you're moving too fast. You've changed. Yes, you have changed, and they can't stand it, because every time you level up, they feel left behind. Every time you own your calling, they feel the pressure to face what they've avoided. And every time you shine, they squint in discomfort, not because of the light, but because of what the light reveals. Chosen one, this is a spiritual law. Light always stirs up the hidden. Truth always disturbs the false, and healing always irritates what refuses to be healed. They disguise their envy with fake smiles. They cloak their resentment in checking on you. They wrap their criticism in ribbons of concern. But your spirit knew. Your discernment felt it. That uneasy stirring in your stomach, that wasn't anxiety. That was your inner compass detecting counterfeit care. So let me ask you, have you started to see it yet? That not every hug is holy. That not every I'm just worried is sincere. That sometimes the ones calling themselves your supporters are secretly hoping you stumble. Just so they feel safe again? Say this aloud in your soul. I don't apologize for my light. I don't shrink for their comfort. I don't mistake envy for love. And if this is hitting home, drop a comment. I now see through the mask of false concern. Because the more you shine, the more their shadows will react. But that's not your problem. That's their mirror. You were never too much. You were the revelation they weren't ready for. And now, they're scrambling. Not because you hurt them, but because your light exposed what they were hiding from all along. Chosen one. When the noise got loud, heaven whispered louder, not in words, not in thunder, but in numbers. 222, 333, 777, repeating like a sacred drumbeat across your days. While the chaos tried to confuse you, while betrayal spun webs around your peace, heaven was speaking in patterns, dropping divine codes in the middle of your breakdown. A license plate, a clock, A receipt, not random, not coincidence. Messages, warnings, confirmations. See, heaven doesn't call your phone. He sends codes, encoded frequencies only the awakened can feel. Only the chosen can decode. That nudge in your gut? That wasn't just a feeling, it was a spiritual radar. That sudden unease when you almost said yes, it was divine disruption. That door that didn't open, it wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Your intuition isn't soft anymore. It's sharp, upgraded, calibrated. Heaven doesn't need to shout because your soul is now tuned in. Don't you feel it? The way your body reacts before your mind catches up? The way you know something's off before it unfolds? That's not paranoia. That's prophetic sensitivity. The gift that comes after fire, after heartbreak, after isolation. It's what happens when pain becomes discernment. Chosen one, hear this truth. Heaven has never been offbeat. Every 444 that flashed across your screen, every 1111 that paused your breath, every strange alignment was a sacred echo, synchronizing your steps with divine rhythm. And yet, some still call it luck, coincidence, randomness. But let me ask you, is it really random if it keeps happening at the exact moment you need it most? Is it randomness when you cry out silently and see a dove appear overhead? When your spirit aches and the verse finds you before the preacher speaks it? When the sign shows up right before you almost settle again? Number, that's not chaos, that's order, celestial, calculated, clear. So ask yourself, are you still clinging to logic in a season ruled by spirit? Are you brushing off sacred instruction because it doesn't come in the form you expected? Because chosen one, heaven doesn't always explain. He confirms, he aligns, he codes. Say it now. I receive the signals. I trust the code. I follow the flow. And if this resonates, type in the comments, I no longer doubt the divine pattern. Because the next time your heart tightens for no reason, or you see that number again, don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. That's heaven knocking. And this time, you're finally awake enough to answer. Chosen one, they always come back. But hear me clearly, it's not love that brings them back. It's depletion. You are not the memory they miss. You are the electricity they crave. They remember how your presence lifted them, how your words gave breath to their dying confidence, how your spirit lit up their shadowed world. But this time, they're not returning with truth. They're returning with an empty battery, hoping you're still a free outlet they can plug into. Those late-night apologies, those sudden texts out of nowhere, they're not healing. They're unpaid spiritual invoices, attempts to reconnect not with you, but with what you give. You are not a backup generator for broken spirits. You are not a temporary fix for those who never honored your light. They drained you once, and now they're hoping you've forgotten. But heaven didn't forget. The access they once had, revoked. The passwords to your peace, changed. The gates to your sacred energy, heaven has sealed them shut. Chosen one, you are not a gas station. You are not a vending machine for spiritual validation. You are a temple, a throne room, a dwelling place of divine fire. So when they show up again, with sweet words and shiny promises, ask yourself, are they here to build or to borrow, to serve or to siphon? Because just like a hacker who lost the login, they'll try everything. Nostalgia, guilt. I've changed, but they don't want a new covenant. They want old access. And if you let them back in, they'll pull the plug from your peace and plug their dysfunction back into your spirit. Not because you're weak, but because your light still works. So I ask you now, will you guard your glow? Will you deny entry to the ones who only knock when they're empty? Type it in the comments. I am not your charger. My light is sacred. And if you've ever felt this, If someone ever tried to return just to drink from your overflow, let this be your confirmation. They didn't come back for love, they came back for power, and this time, they won't get in. Not without divine permission, not without transformation, not without you knowing you are the power source, and you decide who plugs in. Chosen one. That empty seat, the one they said you'd never fill again, it's not empty anymore. Heaven is handing it back to you. This is not revenge. This is restoration. Not petty payback, but prophetic realignment. You were never disqualified. You were never replaced. You were only delayed while heaven cleansed the room of imposters. The crown they mocked, it fits you now more than ever. The robe they tore, heaven wove it back together, threaded with fire, stained with oil, and sealed with glory. They tried to bury your name, but they forgot. Heaven doesn't forget what it anoints. And now the very place they pushed you out of is the place you're being called back to. This isn't a small win. This is a public coronation. This is cosmic justice read aloud in front of every accuser. The courtroom of heaven is not silent. It's roaring with your vindication. They wrote you off. They counted you out. But every lie they spread has now become a stepping stone beneath your rising. Because here's the divine twist. Your elevation is the final evidence. The very sight of your rising becomes the closing argument against every scheme they launched in secret. And so I ask you, chosen one, are you ready? Are you ready to take your place, not just as the one who survived, but the one who was always meant to rule? Not by force, not by vengeance, but by divine right. This is your hour, not to explain yourself, not to clap back, but to ascend. So say it aloud, declare it in the comments. My throne is no longer vacant. I have returned in power. Because this isn't just about being right, it's about being reinstated. They tried to erase your legacy, but heaven rewrote the script. And now the crown returns. The seat is waiting, and the scepter belongs to you. The only question is, will you rise?